Oh, good afternoon, everybody. Yeah, I said good afternoon. It's actually Saturday afternoon. I was here in the sanctuary and just kind of running over my sermon for tomorrow. And I just felt a need to talk to all of you as well. I don't want this to be something that just sits in a church and doesn't go anywhere. I want this to be something that, it's a message I just want to share. Hope you don't mind. Um, Yeah, as I've gone through my life, I've had the opportunity to see some pretty amazing things. I really have. I've been very, very fortunate. I've seen the splendor of the nature of creation in the Grand Canyon and just everything that signifies. I've seen the sun set over the fields of wheat out here in northeastern Colorado. If you don't think the two don't compare, you need to come out here and look for yourself because it really does. I've seen the birth of a daughter. I've seen the spiring cathedrals over in Europe just that make you go, wow, when you look up and go, oh my gosh, this is amazing, and people created these things. I've seen people come to faith. People at the spur of the moment want to be baptized in a church service. Some pretty amazing things that I've had an opportunity to see, shooting stars and things like this as well. Just a lot of really, really cool things. And every time I see these, I reflect on them. And later on, I really take time to thank God for these wondrous and truly amazing things that I've been able to see. But one amazing thing in my life, and maybe you can't really see it as much, is my relationship with God. It truly is amazing. It takes all of these other experiences and wrap all those together, and you might get close to the amazing feeling I have in my heart when I think about God and Jesus and what they've done in my life, and the ultimate sacrifice Jesus made for me, and just so many different things. It really is amazing. It's not something you can really see, though. You can look at me and go, well, there's Phil, and well, he looks pretty happy, so maybe it's amazing. But it's a feeling. It's an inward amazingness. And unless you have it in your heart and feel it, you might not know quite what I'm talking about. But then again, too, I'm sure a lot of you who are going to watch this have had some pretty amazing feelings in your own world, in your hearts, and in your souls as well. So maybe I was wrong. Maybe you do know exactly what I'm talking about. I hope and I pray that we all do. Things that we can't really put a picture to. The amazingness. The amazing trust that I have in God. The amazing trust I have in Jesus, that no matter where I go in my life, that I can rely on Jesus to see me through anything in my life. It might not always happen the way I want it to. I might not get that miraculous healing that I've seen and I've heard about overnight when I have the flu. I might just struggle with it, but I know I'm not alone when I go through those things. Trust. And trust is I think a precious thing in this world that we live in. Because I think of the trust I have in God, and it's ultimate, absolute trust. And I think of the trust I have in people, and depending on who the person is, this trust is going to go up and down. I have to be really honest here. Now, there are some people in my life that I trust a lot. I mean, a lot. I can tell them many, many things, and I trust that they won't share those with other people. They'll keep things confident. I trust that they'll be able to be there to pray for me and to help me through things. There are other people in my life who I really don't trust much at all. And most of the time, that's because we've had trust, and the trust has been hugely broken. And I just cannot trust them really hardly with anything anymore. Because I know if I do trust them, probably what's going to happen is I'm going to get hurt, they're going to get hurt, other people are going to get hurt. It's just the way the world works, unfortunately. I hate to say that, but that's the way it works. I wish I could trust everybody completely, but I have to protect myself. We have to protect each other as well. But that's the beauty about God, is that I have this ultimate, absolute trust that God's always going to be there. God's not going to turn his back on me. Jesus is never going to walk away from me, no matter how bad things get. Jesus is always going to be there, and I know that in my heart. I know that in my soul. I know that in my mind as well, that Jesus will never leave me, and I can fully and completely trust in that. And that's a really good feeling. Talking about trust, I was just doing my sermon, and it's on Matthew 14, verse 22 to 33. It's the story about Jesus out on a boat. Well, the disciples are out on a boat. Jesus is on the shore. He had just been doing a lot of things with people, preaching. Last week we talked about him feeding the multitudes, feeding thousands and thousands of people with a little bit of bread and a little bit of fish, and how there is so much leftovers, how God is gracious and God provides for all of us. It was really an amazing experience last week to talk about that. But today, the disciples are out on the sea, and the sea, it gets rough. It's just the Sea of Galilee. And sudden storms can break up on that. Winds blow from the hills coming down from the sides. It can get pretty wavy pretty quickly. And they're afraid, which naturally, if I was on a boat in the middle of a big body of water like that and the waves are crashing and the storm was coming in, I might be a little afraid too. You capsize. There's a lot of things that can go wrong. And they're not having a good time. And then they see something coming toward the boat. And at first they think it's a ghost, but as this apparition comes closer, it is Jesus. And Jesus is there, and he's calling out to them, don't be afraid. Trust me, you'll be just fine. And Jesus is there, and he calls out to Peter. And he says, Peter, why don't you come out of the boat, and I'll take care of you. And Peter goes out on the boat, and he puts his foot into the water, and he begins to walk on water. We often say there's only one person in history who's ever walked on water. Well, it was actually two, because the Apostle Peter walked out upon that water because of the faith he had in Jesus. But he quickly looked around him, and he saw the waves, and he saw the lightning and hearing the thunder, and I think he just lost it. And he started to sink in the water. And Jesus had to hold out his hand and say, here, I've got you. Why don't you have faith? You know, the things we can do when we have faith in our lives, right? It's complete trust in Jesus. The trust that makes us get out of a perfectly safe boat and walk on water, right? One of my seminary friends called that aqua ambulation, moving on top of the water. Have you ever tried that? You know, running across the top of a pool, running into the lake. It's never worked for me, not even close, okay? Some people have invented little big old shoes and floaty devices so they can walk on water. Most of the time, those end up pretty miserable. Look at YouTube videos. It's actually funny to watch people trying to walk on water with these devices. Just not a real plausible thing with human beings. Jesus, though, is another story. Jesus, being the Son of God, lives in the natural world and also lives within the supernatural world. We see the miracles of Jesus all the time, raising people from the dead, turning water into wine at a wedding, so the guests would be happy and he would make his mom happy as well. And here we have him calming seas, feeding multitudes of people, walking on the water. And wow, that is amazing. And that's the amazing part of my own faith when I have trust in Jesus, because I read these things in our Bible, and I believe these things happen. I believe you being the Son of God, you have certain things that you can do to help people in their lives, to bring healing, to maybe help people believe what you are saying is true. And I don't have that ability right now. I don't have the ability to walk on water right now. I don't have the ability to heal somebody or to bring peace to the whole world. Or I don't have that ability. What I do have is that trust in Jesus. Okay? That no matter what happens, he's going to be there with me. Peter tried to walk with Jesus on the water. And Peter had spent 3.5 years walking with Jesus before Jesus goes to that cross. And we read about that, and it was like, wow, how cool would that be to actually have walked with Jesus, right? Walking around with Jesus. But I think the reality for me, and that's why I really wanted to talk to you about it, is we have the ability to walk with Jesus. We do it every single day, whether we realize it or not. When we have Jesus in our hearts and we've accepted Christ, Christ is with us. Christ is with us during those terrible, depressing, sad, sorrowful, dark times. Placing his hand upon our shoulders, just trying to be there to give us energy to get up in the morning. Jesus is there with us during the amazing celebrations we have in our lives as well, smiling next to us. And even just on a normal, everyday day when we're driving to work and doing everyday stuff, Jesus is there walking with us. So when we do stumble and fall, when we need something, encouragement or anything, we can just turn to Jesus and go, "Hi, Jesus, I know you're with me. I know you're walking with me. Thank you for doing that. I know I'm not alone. And could you help me a little bit with this task that I have? Could you help me a little bit to change my emotions from frustration and anger into something maybe positive?" Whatever we need, Jesus is truly there. I mean, this is the guy who walked on water. Okay, I've seen little TV shows where I think Chris Angel, the magician, walks on water over a pool. But they come back later on and they show you how it's done. There's something in the water. He's not walking on water, right? There's nothing supernatural about magic like that. It's all sleight of hand. But with Jesus and the miracles, I firmly believe within my heart and my soul that these were real occurrences. These are things that actually happened, and and that's okay. And I can fully believe that out of the realm of what we might be able to explain with science or whatever, because Jesus being the Son of God and God created everything in the universe, well, I believe Jesus was a little bit more than just a simple person here on earth. We call Jesus both fully human and both fully man as well, both human being and God at the same time. And that's where things just tend to work out real well, because when you've got God inside of you like that, you can enter into people, you can change their lives, you can bring healing, you can raise the dead. And as far as I'm concerned, there's only one person on this planet who's ever had that role, and that is Jesus. And that's why I come to church. That's why there's a cross behind me, an empty cross behind me, because Jesus came off that cross and Jesus defeated death and sin for each and every single one of us gathered here. But I just want to remind you, and just maybe something to think about this week as you go forward, is just knowing that Jesus is with you every single moment of every single day. Don't ever forget that. Don't ever think you're without God. Don't ever think that God has ever abandoned you, because that's the amazing thing about God and Christ, is that we can trust that they will always, always be with us. I hope you understand that. I hope you feel that truly, truly within your hearts. And that's really at the core of what I wanted to share with you on this Saturday without shaving or anything like this. It's important that we know we're not alone. God is with us, and Christ was with us as well. I'll leave it at that. You have a great rest of the day. If you can't make it to church on Sunday, well, I guess you can click to the video, and that's going to be the gist of what I talk about tomorrow as well. But God bless you. Have a wonderful day, and enjoy your walk with Jesus. Amen.